You know, when you think about sex in America, there's this whole universe of experiences that, well, often flies under the radar.
Oh, definitely. It's a landscape far more varied and surprising than most of us probably imagine.
Exactly. And today, we're taking a direct route into that fascinating territory.
We are. Our source for this deep dive is Secret Sex Lives: A Year on the Fringes of American Sexuality.
And it's not like an academic book, right? It's real people opening up about their intimate lives.
That's the key.
Okay.
And our goal, really, is to distill the main insights, those truly eye-opening moments for you.
Yeah, so you get the gist without having to read the whole thing, although it sounds pretty compelling.
It is. And what's particularly interesting is why the author even wrote it. She'd been deep in true crime, grim stuff.
Right.
And she was looking for something lighter, maybe something that would even make her laugh.
So sex was the answer.
Apparently, her curiosity led her to explore these less conventional corners of American sexuality.
And her approach was pretty bold, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. She just placed a simple ad on Craigslist, said she was researching a book about sex, invited people to share stories.
Wow. You just have to wonder about the kinds of responses she got, the sheer range.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we get into this material, you'll encounter just an astonishing array of individuals.
Like who? What kind of range are we talking?
Well, people with a genuine aversion to being touched, for one.
Hmm?
Others really into online sexual explorations, swingers, people involved in BDSM,
Okay.
and, others navigating really complex shifts in their sexual identities. It's a real snapshot.
So our mission here is basically to pull out those key insights, the surprising stuff about all these diverse experiences the author found.
Yep, and we want to explore it with you in a way that's, approachable, genuinely curious.
And absolutely no judgment. Like we're just exploring this really multifaceted part of being human together.
Couldn't have said it better.
Okay, let's dive in. Where does the book start? What's the first big theme?
Well, it starts very personally, actually, with the author herself. Yeah, she grapples with her own, profound touch aversion, describes this almost automatic physical rejection of contact.
And the striking thing is, she couldn't connect it to any specific trauma.
Nope. No memory of anything specific, which is baffling, right?
Yeah. Did she have any theories?
Her gynecologist suggested one. Maybe she'd sort of absorbed the emotional residue from others, people around her who had experienced abuse.
She mentions a lot of her friends, like 9 out of 10 had been victims of rape or molestation. That's a staggering number.
It is. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How deeply we can be affected by the experiences of those close to us, even indirectly.
But here's the twist, right? Those friends, despite their histories.
Exactly. They didn't share her same deep-seated aversion to touch.
So it really makes you consider how differently trauma can manifest. It's not one size fits all.
Not at all. And how complex our bodies and minds are in processing these things. It's deeply personal.
Okay, so from her personal experience, where does she go next?
Online encounters. Yes, the book moves into the world of online encounters, mainly through the people who answered that Craigslist ad.
Right.
And early on, she connects with a woman named Amanda. Her story's got a few layers.
Yeah.
Amanda had been researching tantric sex, female ejaculation online, kind of trying to reconnect with what she remembered as more innocent, playful sex from when she was younger,
As opposed to...
as opposed to her more recent marital experiences, which included threesomes initiated by her husband that she'd participated in.
Ah, okay. So a real contrast she was seeking. And Amanda had some unusual safety rules for meeting people online.
She did, insisting they ride in her car, so their own car wasn't readily available.
Wow, that says a lot about the anxiety involved meeting strangers like that.
It certainly does. That vulnerability
Yeah.
and the steps people feel they need to take to stay safe or feel in control.
We see that caution elsewhere too, right? People responding to the author's ad were wary at first.
Oh, yeah. Some wanted proof she was legitimate, not someone with, ulterior motives. Understandable, given the topic.
Totally. Trust issues are huge online, especially with personal stuff.
And Amanda shared this story from her childhood, like an I-Spy game,
Yeah.
where she and a boy just explored each other's bodies. Innocent curiosity, she said.
But the author immediately thought abuse.
Right. That was the author's immediate adult interpretation. But Amanda insisted she had no negative associations with it at all.
Really makes you question the lens we put on childhood experiences later on, doesn't it?
It does. The assumptions we make based on our current understanding. Then there's the encounter with Sean.
Ah, Sean, this one sounds less positive.
Yeah, a bit of a stark reminder of the downsides of online interactions. He was really focused on the author's personal life.
Asking if she was married, trying to probe her desires.
Exactly, but totally dodging her questions about himself. The author recognized it as a red flag, like from online dating advice.
That deflection tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably resonates with some listeners' experiences online.
And what's really revealing is his persistence, even when she tried to keep it professional.
He eventually admitted he was married.
Yep, only for 7 months, he said, and had already cheated shortly after contacting the author.
Wow.
Okay.
And then, get this, he sends a follow-up email saying he was horny and she could use it in her book.
No way. The audacity? Or maybe just cluelessness.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
It's pretty blatant, right? Shows some of the motivations and behaviors you find out there.
Yeah, definitely sets the stage for exploring infidelity and desire more deeply. Is that where the book goes next?
Exactly. Which leads us to Jim, another married man who reached out.
Okay. What was his story?
His wife didn't enjoy giving oral sex. That was the initial thing. He was hesitant at first about why he was on Craigslist.
Fred eventually admitted.
Yeah, admitted he was flirting with the idea of being with someone else purely for the physical act.
And it wasn't like their sex life was always vanilla, right? They'd been adventurous before.
Right, including anal sex. But things had slowed down after their son was born, which, happens. Shows how dynamics change.
Life factors.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is the dynamic with his wife. She'd occasionally say she wanted to be with another woman.
Okay.
And Jim wasn't sure if she genuinely desired that or if she just said it because she knew it turned him on.
Oh, that's complex. That communication gap or uncertainty about true motivations, that's relatable in relationships, I think.
Definitely. And it leads to Jim sharing this fantasy he had.
Which was?
Another woman going down on his wife, and the fact that they both got aroused just talking about it.
Fantasy versus reality. And that question, do you act on it? A really intimate glimpse into their world.
It is, and then Jim starts sending explicit emails to the author.
To the author, wow.
Yeah. Describing his arousal, talking to her, saying he's attracted to her internet photos, even though she was apparently quite self-deprecating about her looks.
Shows that connection can be powerful, even virtual, not just about looks.
Exactly. And the author contrasts this with, her teenage reaction to seeing the Kama Sutra, how alien those illustrations seemed then.
Compared to getting unsolicited explicit photos as an adult.
Right. It really highlights for you how our perception of sex just shifts dramatically over a lifetime.
Yeah, maturity, experience. It all changes things. Okay, so where does this exploration of challenging norms lead next?
Well, things get even more into challenging societal norms and maybe your own assumptions. We meet Richard.
Richard, okay.
His story starts fairly simply. He sought out a female sex worker, said it was mainly cost and horniness. Wasn't even particularly attracted to her.
Right. Kind of a transactional view of sex there.
But then, later, after his divorce, he reveals something else, quite hesitantly.
Which was?
A same-sex encounter. And this apparently escalated into more frequent male-on-male sexual activity when he was in San Diego.
But he struggled with it.
Yeah, seemed to. Expressed internal conflict, embarrassment. He insisted he didn't identify as gay or bisexual.
And wasn't interested in the romantic side of it, like kissing or touching.
Exactly. Which, for you listening, just illustrates how sexual behavior and sexual identity aren't always neatly aligned. They can be quite separate.
It really challenges those neat boxes we try to put sexuality into, suggests it's much more fluid.
Definitely. And the author reflects on this, connecting it to her own background. She couldn't relate to open marriage, for instance.
Because of her religious upbringing?
Yeah, her focus on Jesus' teachings about not marrying, it just shows how deeply our personal beliefs and culture shape how we see different relationship models.
Makes sense. Okay, so next up is swinging.
Yep, venturing into another fascinating subculture. We meet Frank, a swing club owner.
And the author was anxious about meeting him.
Seems so. You can imagine meeting someone from that world face-to-face for the first time, asking intimate questions.
Yeah, a big step. How was Frank?
Surprisingly kind of non-judgmental about people's choices, with the obvious exceptions like harm and pedophilia.
But he shared something from his own past.
He did, hesitantly. An unwanted sexual advance from a family member when he was a kid.
Ah. Did you think it influenced his current interests?
He insisted it didn't. Which, raises questions for you about how past experiences and present desires connect or don't connect. It's complex.
Always complex. What else stood out about Frank?
Well, he told the author she didn't look like someone who'd fit in at his club.
Oh.
but then immediately said many members look totally normal. Kind of breaks down stereotypes about who's involved in these lifestyles.
Yeah, the normal appearance thing. And wasn't there something about ministers?
Oh, right. This is wild. Frank said 3 ordained ministers were members of his club.
Seriously.
Hmm.
That really underscores the gap between public persona and private life, doesn't it?
Totally. Makes you wonder about the hidden lives all around us.
Did Frank try to justify swinging?
He had this interpretation of the Bible, pointing to figures with multiple partners as, like, sanctioning it.
Interesting take.
Yeah, though he admitted his view might be biased by the times the scriptures were written. Some self-awareness there.
And despite owning a swing club, he wasn't actively participating much anymore.
Right. He made this comment about presidential relief after his wife died. Kind of sad. And said he turns down orgy invitations now. He actually wanted monogamy.
Wow. Paradoxical. Shows how desires can really shift over time.
Exactly. Needs change. Doesn't matter the community you're in. He also noticed the author's confidence issues, saw a reflection of himself.
A moment of connection there, but the meeting ended awkwardly?
A bit uneasy, yeah.
Mm.
He hinted at dating her, mentioned the swing convention, and she realized she didn't have a recorder, her friend wasn't there, felt vulnerable.
The line's blurring again between researcher and something else.
Definitely. That professional distance being tested.
Yeah.
Which leads nicely into the next big area, BDSM.
Right. The book introduces sadistic bastard, Patrick. Quite a name.
Huh, yeah. He explains the terminology to use BDSM, talks about its history a bit.
Yeah.
But emphasizes the diversity. It's not one rigid thing.
Which probably challenges the usual media portrayals.
For sure. And Patrick's insight is interesting. He
Mhm.
apparently ruined past relationships because he didn't get the non-sexual parts of being a dominant.
Ah, so it's not just about the physical acts.
Not at all. It's a whole dynamic. Power exchange, trust, communication, crucial elements.
And Patrick had this counterintuitive idea about submissives.
Yeah. He argued they're often stronger than dominants because of the incredible trust and willpower their role demands.
That really flips the script on the usual power dynamic idea, doesn't it?
It does. Makes you
Yeah.
rethink who holds the power. And someone named Dusty adds to this.
Yeah, Dusty says sex is actually just a small part of the lifestyle for many. Gives examples of non-sexual power dynamics, different kinds of submission.
Broadens the picture beyond just the physical stuff.
And Patrick, despite the name, was married.
Yep, to a wonderful slave, as
Yeah.
he put it. And they decided to raise their kids around the lifestyle, but shielding them from the sexual aspects.
Integrating it into family life. Their way.
And then Patrick asked the author to do something kind of weird,
Oh,
to privately track her trust in him on a scale of 1 to 10.
wow. Very direct, almost clinical. But trust is key in BDSM, right?
Absolutely, it's fundamental. But then the author goes to a BDSM munch.
Like a social gathering. How is that?
Sounds pretty awkward and unsettling for her. Felt out of place, observed others.
Yeah.
Then this guy Al made disturbing comments, was bragging.
So, like any community, it has its complexities. And maybe some less savory characters.
Seems so. And then Lady Sapphire offers a different take on the BDSM mantra.
The safe, sane, and consensual one.
Yeah. She questions if it's always realistic, argues for acknowledging the actual risks involved in some activities, a more nuanced view, perhaps.
More honest, maybe.
Yeah.
And the author was surprised by Lady Sapphire?
Yeah, because Lady Sapphire presents as a dominant, but admitted she's actually a submissive.
Shows you again, appearances versus internal reality, unexpected layers.
Yeah, exactly. And all these explorations lead into themes of shifting identities, self-discovery, which is another big part of the book.
Something lots of people can probably relate to, navigating who you are sexually.
For sure. Like Jessica's story, discovering her bisexuality.
And she went to lengths to seem exclusively gay for someone she liked.
Yeah. Highlights the pressures people feel, the internal conflicts around identity and expression.
Then there's JD. Sounds like a character.
Yeah. Very blunt, unfiltered views on online dating. Called Women Spoiled, asks the author straight up about her favorite fetish.
Whoa. Direct approach.
Very different style. And Al, remember Al from The Munch?
The bragging guy. Yeah.
He makes this claim that bestiality is becoming more accepted.
Seriously.
Yeah, even though he wouldn't do it himself. Just a provocative statement. Then he immediately switches topics
To what?
to his daughter
Yeah.
and how he expects her to become a dom.
What? That's a bizarre leap. Jarring.
Extremely. Then there's Jessica again, with a sugar daddy experience.
And that brought up conflicts for her, desires versus expectations.
Yeah, those dynamics often involve complex power plays and emotions, something you might see in various contexts.
And we see Jessica evolving, getting comfortable with a new partner, but still unsure about seeking more encounters.
Right. Shows it's an ongoing process, figuring out what feels right. Self-discovery doesn't just stop.
And when identifying as genderqueer, the name change, the past assault accusation, just adds more layers of complexity.
Yeah, how identity and past experiences are all tangled together.
So as the author gets deeper into all this, her own involvement starts to shift, doesn't it?
Big time. Her internal conflict becomes more apparent. She's not just observing anymore.
Like with Coyote, asking if the research turned her on.
Exactly. And she keeps deflecting, comparing herself to a straight male gynecologist, trying hard to keep that professional boundary.
But her actions maybe suggest otherwise, like meeting the dominatrix.
Yeah, decided to meet Lily Ma'am on the same day Coyote had bailed on her. It's just maybe a growing curiosity, perhaps leaning into it unconsciously.
And Lily Ma'am offers her own perspective on BDSM.
Yeah, talks about the thrill of control, the ego boost from confessions. And her background is fascinating, too.
She was a Jehovah's Witness.
Yep. And how that shaped her views on sex, relationships, provides this stark contrast to her current life. Really makes you think.
And she used adultery to get a divorce. That's intense.
Quite a story. And the reaction from the elders in her church was unexpected, too. Shows how people navigate these huge personal and religious conflicts in surprising ways.
And Lily's journey into BDSM came later, after divorces.
Yeah, after her third divorce, found the community, got deeply involved. It's a story of searching for belonging, acceptance.
And then the twist with her daughter.
Right. Discovering her teenage daughter doing consensual bondage play with a friend, totally unaware of Lily's own interests.
Wow, like this hidden current of exploration across generations.
Maybe. And despite Lily's BDSM role, the author felt this surprising trust in her.
Shows how connections form in unexpected ways, doesn't it? Across different lifestyles.
Absolutely. The book also looks at navigating relationships more broadly, the different expectations people have.
We meet Robin, the crossdresser.
Yeah, reflecting on jealousy of her sister, her difficult relationship with her controlling father.
Showing how family dynamics influence identity and desire.
Definitely. And then Rob, who wants his wife to wear lingerie, but she doesn't have fantasies like that, even though they have regular sex.
Highlights how different partners can approach intimacy, even within the same marriage.
And as the author gets more immersed, she starts thinking about participating.
Really? Driven by curiosity? Or wanting to understand more deeply?
Probably a mix. It's a big shift for her, from observer to potential participant.
Then there's Rex and his online affair, rationalizing it.
Yeah, justifications that echo other stories she heard. Seems like common patterns emerge.
But there are positive journeys, too, like Holly.
Yes, Holly's story of exploring on her own terms, having a positive first experience with penetrative sex, reclaiming her sexuality, empowering.
But the author worries about the impact on herself, needing something major to get aroused.
Yeah, that immersion is clearly affecting her psychologically. Raises questions about the impact of this kind of research.
And Coyote inviting her to watch him masturbate. That's crossing a line.
A huge boundary question for her. That ethical tightrope she's walking becomes really clear.
And she feels attraction herself to the married musician.
It shows she's not detached. She feels things, recognizes boundaries, but the attraction is there.
Yeah.
Human.
And she's still grappling with her faith, talking to her atheist friend Rose about being a hypocritical Christian.
Yeah, that internal conflict about her values versus her experiences is ongoing. Probably relatable for anyone whose beliefs have evolved.
So it feels like she's heading towards a point where her personal life and research really collide.
Exactly. She admits feeling stuck, celibacy, attraction to married men.
Considers therapy or surrogates, but doesn't go there.
Right. Maybe this deep dive is her form of exploration, maybe even therapy in a way.
And some people fade out, like Dusty, but Coyote stays in touch.
Yeah, keeps updating her. Even after a questionable sex rendezvous, that connection persists.
And then her research focus shifts deliberately towards swinging.
Yes. Seems like a conscious move towards more direct engagement, less distance.
We hear about Jack and Amy, swingers having positive experiences.
Initially, yes. Found a compatible couple on Craigslist. Highlights that it can work out well for some.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort into that first date, even though the other couple had a no-sex first date rule.
Yeah, the description shows the anticipation, the excitement involved in those early stages.
And the first meeting itself went well.
Seemed to. suggests genuine connection is possible in that world.
And they valued the other couple's commitment to each other, felt it reduced drama.
Right. Underscores the importance of trust and communication when you're navigating open relationships.
And Amy starts exploring her own bisexuality. And there's a potential parallel with the author's emails with Jack.
Yeah, hinting at maybe an emotional connection developing across the couples, blurring lines further.
But Jack also acknowledges the angst swinging brought to his marriage.
He does. A pragmatic look at the complexities, the potential downsides, even breakup scenarios. It's not all easy.
And the author herself feels loneliness, hurt, mirroring her subjects.
Yes. That vulnerability makes her journey very relatable, adds another dimension.
Then Phil, the sex therapist, calls her out on her motivations.
Directly. Asks why she's really writing the book. Prompts some real honesty from her.
And she admits being tired of true crime, the agent's idea, downplays the personal significance of sex at the time.
Yeah, even though it's become the focus of her life and research. Interesting denial, maybe.
But personal connections are forming. Phoebe and Coyote showing support about her mom's health.
Right. These research relationships became real friendships with genuine care.
Phil emphasizing their friendship is paramount.
Underscores the unexpected bonds formed through this intense process.
And the author develops this fascination with a flogger. Wants one?
Yeah, even though she's unsure how to use it, a tangible sign of her immersion, maybe identification.
And Neil, who dislikes swinging in marriage, offers to take her to a club.
Another contradiction. Highlights how beliefs and actions can be inconsistent.
So she goes to Le Trapeze in New York. What's it like?
Less than glamorous, apparently. Realistic, unvarnished, not some idealized fantasy.
The layout sounds interesting. Cramped, doorless rooms, communal beds.
Yeah, really immerses you in the environment through her description.
And she sees everything from napping couples to explicit sex, people just acting matter-of-factly.
Pretty much. Shows how normalized it is within that specific space.
And then the weekend swing party with Phoebe and Phil, a last-minute decision.
Yep. A huge step towards personal involvement. She's clearly apprehensive, conflicted.
Still using the objectivity for the book excuse internally.
Yeah, that ongoing tension between researcher and person.
What's party like? The people.
A real mix. Mary's open, Trish is provocative, Griff makes casual comments, Lex is off-putting, Ray calmly discusses BDSM, a diverse social dynamic.
And things escalate with Emily and Rita.
Yeah, culminating in Emily taking her top off, moving beyond observation for the author.
And then her memory gets blurry, conflicting notes.
Yes. Feelings of being touched without clear consent. A major internal struggle. This is a really disturbing turning point.
Yeah, sounds incredibly difficult. The aftermath must have been intense.
Profound. Disappointment, feeling she violated her celibacy, deep conflict with her faith, her ethics as a journalist, a personal crisis.
And Phoebe's enthusiastic afterwards while the author needs to talk to a Christian friend shows the disconnect.
Absolutely. The author's struggling with guilt, needing forgiveness, trying to process it with Lola. She even mentions physical pain during the encounter.
What did Lola advise?
Self-respect. Not selling your soul, some grounding perspective.
But her therapist reacted negatively.
Yeah. Highlighting the potential negative psychological fallout from this kind of immersive work.
So the book ends with her reflecting on it all, the lasting impact.
Pretty much. Her complicated relationship with Rose, her love for her family, underscores the vulnerability of sharing something so raw and personal.
Wow. What a journey.
So, yeah, wrapping up this deep dive, you really get a sense of the huge scope of experiences the author uncovered. A real journey to the fringes.
Absolutely. We've touched on just so many diverse motivations, desires, challenges, relationship complexities, identity searches, boundary issues.
And the author's own intense personal journey, those ethical tightropes, really makes you think about the observer's role, doesn't it? The impact of getting that close.
It really does, both on the subjects and the researcher.
Definitely.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe, for you listening. How does hearing about all these diverse experiences challenge or maybe confirm your own views on sexuality and intimacy?
Are there any assumptions you might reconsider after exploring these secret sex lives?
Yeah, something to mull over. The complexities of human connection and desire. It's definitely a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.